Alright, hey guys, welcome back to quite a long awaited video. It's been quite a while since I've recorded a video, but today I'm back, and today I'm going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to be doing my top picks for my video games that were released in 2013. Now I usually do write a blog of what my top picks are on one of the various websites that I have. But this year I thought I'm going to do a video so I can show my top picks and just give my little quick opinion on about the game and what I enjoyed or didn't enjoy as much. And that's it. I'm not going to say too much about each one, otherwise this will be quite a long video, so it's just a quick top pick. I have 7 top picks this year. It would have been a few more, but I'll explain some of the reasons why as I go through. So it's my top 7 out of any of the consoles that are out and any of the games that were released in 2013. A couple of the rules that I set myself is, number 1, I have to have at least played and near enough finished the game, and 2, I have to own the game, as in still own the game and case. Okay, so I'm going to be starting off with my 7th, starting with 7th place, and that would be this one right here. This is Saints Row 4, the Commander-in-Chief edition. So I've been playing the Saints Row game since the 2nd one, and they haven't changed the formula too much over the times, and this is probably the most drastic one they've done. If you've ever played like the Crackdown games, it seems they've sort of gone with a style like that, of giving you really over-the-top powers in this one. If you can just imagine a sort of GTA world with crazy powers, then that's what this game's like, with many different rip-offs from various video games and movies, such as 2 that come to mind mostly are The Matrix and the Mass Effect games. Okay, yeah, so that's really enjoyed that. The second game, starting with my 6th place, is, for some reason I can't find the case for it. I've only got the disc out, and that would be this one right here. And if you can't see it, that is actually DMC, or Devil May Cry, which was the reboot for the Devil May Cry series. This one was released in this past January. Now, in case you didn't know, I am quite a big fan of the Devil May Cry games. I've been playing the game since the first one came out in 2001, I believe it was, on the PlayStation 2. And obviously, because I'm quite a big Resident Evil fan, I've sort of thought I'd see what exactly Capcom would bring for this one. And in case you didn't know, Resident Evil 1 was originally going to be... Devil May Cry 1 was originally going to be Resident Evil 4. But they decided to do it as a spin-off to a new game series, and I'm very glad they did. So you've had Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3 and 4. This is Ninja Theory's reboot of the series. When this was first announced, I think a couple of years ago, it got quite a lot of criticism on the new Dante look and the new style they were going for. And I was kind of in that, because I weren't happy with what I was seeing. I'm like, why did they get rid of white-haired Dante? There was no need for it. After getting the game and playing through it, I can honestly say it is a very good game. However, I don't think it still stands up to the original Devil May Cry's. There's just something about it that doesn't. The new Dante just still doesn't work for me, which is a shame, because I wish they would go back to the old series, but they probably will continue with this one. I've heard it sold reasonably well. But things I did like about this game is the combat system in it was really good. They really did make it really nice and sharp and smooth when you're fighting many various enemies that was on this game. I also really liked that they tackled more real life stuff in the game that they focused on, such as like the poisonous additives in obesity, in such as like targeting fast food and stuff like that, as well as corruption in the media. Spoilers, I'll say my favourite boss battle by far was the Bob Bardas one in it. That was very entertaining to fight. However, some of the stuff I didn't thoroughly enjoy was it's quite a short game. I didn't feel there was much replay value to go back to it, whereas the others I would have jumped straight back into going to them. And Devil Trigger was quite a letdown in this game. It practically wasn't a Devil Trigger. But yeah, overall I'd say this is a good game, but not a very good Devil May Cry game. I would have rather that this was a completely new game series and not a Devil May Cry, but hey, can't jump on it now. Okay, so my fifth out of my top 7 into 5th place now is Sonic Lost World on the Wii U. Now, I really enjoyed this game, and I understand it's got quite a lot of complaints and skepticism. I think I saw on one it was voted the 3rd worst game of the year, and I really don't know why. A problem that's plagued previous Sonic games has been the camera angle. This is something that this game didn't even have. It had no problem with the camera. Now, it's the first game where you actually was able to control Sonic's speed, and I think that's where a lot of people have complained about it, and I didn't see the problem with it. It gave you a lot more control with when you was going through the areas. It's by no means a flawless Sonic game, but I absolutely love the nostalgic value of how many references to the past Sonic games that are in it, even to the really old games that you wouldn't have even played, such as the noise of when you go through, I can't remember what it was now, one of the gates, but you get the same noise as when you, I believe it was when you got a Chaos Emerald in Sonic R. It was one of the two, I can't remember too well, but even small little references like that, or when you have to jump on the logs that are flowing down from the waterfall, like that was quite a reference to the jungle level from Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on the Master System Game Gear. So even such small little tiny details to such games that probably no one can even remember or has ever been played or was even born in that era. There was obviously quite a lot of references to newer Sonic games, but I really liked it, and it's a very boss-filled heavy game. There is a lot of bosses, and each one feels a lot more unique and different as you progress. So I'm not entirely sure where the complaints come from, because I quite enjoyed it. It does have quite a steep difficulty curve when it starts getting to the harder levels, but that just makes you want to play it more and master it. Admittedly, I will say the last boss is quite flat. When I mean flat, I mean it's very easy. I'm not going down the route of where people say, oh, it's not a supersonic boss, it sucks. It's not that, I think I did die once on it, but that was it. It was over far too soon. That's probably my biggest chip. But yeah, really good fun game, and really enjoyable Sonic game. Moving to my 4th position. Yes, Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, I'll be truthful, I was not a very big fan of the original Grand Theft Autos on the PlayStation 2. And I tried to forgive it a little bit when I bought Grand Theft Auto 4, and I didn't really like it. Or I actually played it and then I ended up getting rid of it. This one, however, honestly, Rockstar have created a masterpiece here. The graphics and the size of the map on this game is absolutely outstanding. The things you can do on it, the in-game games, absolutely incredible, and I've thoroughly enjoyed playing the story from start to the finish. And it also has a very good, fun online, although it did take a few weeks before it was finally brought up to scratch, and a very good online mode. So I'm sure if you're probably watching this video, you've probably either heard or played it. I think it's sold something like 29 million copies already. And that was what I read quite a while ago, so God knows what it is now. There are rumours that it's going to be ported to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I probably won't get it again, but I don't see the justified need to just buy another game just because it's got better graphics. Graphics don't make a game for me. But yeah, very enjoyed. Moving on to my top 3 now. Okay, so in 3rd place I have Resident Evil Revelations on the Xbox 360. Now, I do own a Nintendo 3DS, but I never got around to getting Resident Evil Revelations when it was released last year, I believe. I don't know why, I just never got around to it. So I ended up getting Resident Evil Revelations on launch day when it was released in May, I believe. And I've got to say, this is definitely a step in the right direction for the Resident Evil games. This game is, even though it's not along with the main storyline with 1 to 6, it is a very good game. It's sort of more back to the basic roots to the Resident Evil games. It's a third-person game, but it's not got the same camera angle as the old ones from the PlayStation and GameCube days. But it relies more instinctively on survival. Ammo is a lot more scarce, I should say. You actually have a tool to actually hunt down ammo. And on the harder difficulties, this game was very challenging. Yeah, a very enjoyable game. And, you know, a lot of people say that Resident Evil 6 was a very bloated and over-the-top game, and I'd kind of agree with that. I think Resident Evil 6 is probably worth it alone just for the Leon campaign. But if you're after a more traditional Resident Evil game, this would be the one to get. It may not have absolutely superb graphics compared to if you're comparing it between this and 6 or 5, but remember it is a port from a Nintendo 3DS game. Also, a mode on it which I would say stands up alone to the single player is the online mode you can have on it, which is kind of like the Mercenaries from the old games, but basically you can team up with someone online, like one of your friends, and you progress through missions on the levels, defeating enemies as you go through, and it is a very addictive game. I think I've clocked over at least 100 hours on it, playing with my friend. Even on its own, you can do it single player as well. And there is so many levels you unlock, and you get a wealth of unlockable characters and guns, and it's kind of like an RPG element you get, and it's very addictive. And I'd probably say I played that a lot. Definitely played that mode a lot more than the actual single player, especially when you unlock the ghost ship level at the end, which if you're doing it properly takes at least over an hour just to do that one mission. So yeah, moving on to my second place now. My second place is Super Mario 3D World for the Wii U. Now, I'm a big fan of platformers. It's one of my favourite game styles to play. Obviously, you've seen all the Sonic stuff here. I'm a big platformer fan. I'm also quite a big Mario fan. I've been pretty much playing any Mario game since Mario 64 on the Nintendo 64. That was the first Nintendo console I got. But enough about that, about this game. This is a very, very good game and a very enjoyable game. Pretty much the gameplay on it is near enough flawless, as pretty much any Mario game usually is. I've got to say, the cat suit Mario is probably one of my most favourite power-ups since the raccoon Mario power-up. Now, I wouldn't say this is to the standards of Mario 64 and Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. It's more of a sequel to Mario, the Super Mario 3D game that was released on the 3DS last year, which was also a very stunning game, and I very much enjoyed that. This is more of a sequel to that. It doesn't really have much of like the hub worlds for the 3D games like Mario Galaxy and Sunshine. It's more of you do a level, you go back to a sort of hub world that they had for this new Super Mario Bros. And you progress. As usual, pretty minimalistic story, but you're not buying Mario games for the story, you're buying it for the absolutely flawless gameplay. And as usual, the soundtrack on this game is another thing that's stunning, which most Mario games usually are, with its orchestra. Okay. Now, what can you ask could possibly beat those games like Mario 3D World and Grand Theft Auto? My first choice. And my first choice is that's right, the Legend of Zelda, the Wind Waker HD, that was released on the Wii U a couple of months ago, October time. Now, this was, the GameCube version of this game was my favourite game for 2004, and the Wind Waker is actually one of my most favourite games of all time. It's my most favourite Zelda, and also one of my most favourite games. It's definitely in my top 5. If I had to choose the top 5 games, it's in there. And I absolutely love this game. And to have it remastered up to high definition graphics, it basically looks like a brand new game. You would not know that it's a 10-year gap between the GameCube and this one. You honestly wouldn't. It looks like a completely brand new Zelda game. They have done a complete masterpiece on it. And there's not much I can really say about how much I love this game. To its very cleverly designed dungeons, its very good storyline, and possibly the best last boss out of any Zelda game in terms of how epicness. Maybe not as hard, but how epic it is. Awesome soundtrack, and I just, I really do love this game. I did actually get the limited edition for this game, which had a Ganondorf statue and a really nice display box that come in. I do have a video review of that if you would like to see that. I'll put a link in the description. So that is my top 7 games of 2013. Usually I do have a longer list, but that is all the games I've had a chance to get to play this year in thorough. I did end up getting a couple other games that not so much enjoyed that I ended up getting rid of. Also, if you're wondering why The Last of Us is not in this list, the reason for that is because my PlayStation 3 decided to die about 6 months ago, completely break, and I never got around to getting another PlayStation 3, so I never got to properly play The Last of Us. I have seen the game, and I've seen it around someone's house, pretty much a lot of the story, including the end, and I can tell you it is a truly fantastic game, and it probably would have been up there in my top 3 if I'd have had it. And that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed the list and the video, and I shall see you guys soon with another video. Thanks for watching.